Okay, so it goes without saying that I've learned the golden rule of working with electricity, and that is always have a few pints of Guinness beforehand just to calm your nerves. Nah, I'm kidding on. The golden rule I'd say is if you don't know what you're doing, don't do anything, and if you absolutely have to do anything, make sure the power is switched off. I think it was about 4 videos ago I told you all that going forward I was going to try and do more of this renovation by myself. I can tell you now that is no longer the case. I've decided that my renovation skills extend no further than using a brush and shovel. Occasionally I can be trusted with a vacuum. I believe this is what they call humble pie. So getting into what actually happened to almost cause me to die, in one of the bedrooms I discovered this old mouldy window and wall hidden behind the plasterboard, and I decided I wanted to get rid of the mould. The problem here was that the electrical panel was fitted to a piece of wood, which meant I couldn't actually get into the mould to remove it. So I asked the electrician Mark to come out and move the panel and also take away this buzzing doorbell receiver which was doing my head in. With the panel moved and the buzzing banished, I could get at the wall and start unscrewing the wood and pulling off the mouldy plasterboard, but the wood on the back of the electrical panel was still a little bit in the way, so I decided to unscrew it and move it. Now, this first time round, I actually did the right thing. I turned off the power. I should have actually gone one step further here and turned off the big isolator switch, which is in a separate unit outside, but I didn't, so yeah. For the majority of this renovation process, I've really not done much of the work myself. I've had a team of joiners, electricians and plumbers who were being orchestrated by the main joiner, Sean Paul. But when it came to the phase of the renovation that we're at now, I decided that I'd quite like to try doing a bit more of the stuff myself, and it was going okay. I mean, I'd managed to strip the 2 bedrooms back to the bare walls without losing any fingers or toes, so I was feeling more capable than I previously thought, but that feeling quickly ended. There's a show in America which is a little bit reminiscent of this situation called Beyond Scared Straight, and in this show, troubled teenagers who think they're wise guys get taken into prison to meet the inmates and guards so that they can be scared out of a life of crime. And I think the experience in today's video was my equivalent of being scared straight, but for renovation work rather than selling weed and shooting folk. Anyway, enough about that. Here's some mold ASMR before we get to the part where I almost die. So after I'd removed all of the mouldy plasterboard, this is where my almost fatal mistake started getting preheated. I wanted to hoover up all the debris which was left over from taking off that mouldy plasterboard, so I turned the power back on and started to vacuum up all of the muck. After that, I decided to put the electrical unit back in its original place, but I made 2 colossal mistakes here. Firstly, I didn't turn the power back off, and secondly, I just used a regular metal screwdriver rather than an insulated screwdriver. I touched something in the panel with the metal screwdriver, it blew up and even took a chunk out of the screwdriver, and it was at that moment that I decided to retire from trying any more renovation work myself and texted the electrician Mark to tell him what had happened. All jokes aside, I genuinely could have been killed here. I was being an absolute idiot messing around with electricity and just thought I should show this to kind of warn anyone else out there who shares a similarly low IQ. So what happened next? Well, first of all, I couldn't get to sleep that night because of the adrenaline. That was until I put on my Manta sleep mask. That was supposed to be a seamless sponsor transition. I'm actually running a little giveaway with Manta today to celebrate the fact I'm still alive. I've been using their sleep mask for well over a year now, and this has resulted in me having the best sleeps I've had in years. The masks are incredibly soft and comfortable and block out all light, which, living in Scotland where it currently doesn't get dark until about 11 and starts getting light again at like 3, is very helpful. I've tried generic sleep masks in the past and I've always just been so disappointed with them, as they seem to just let in loads of light under the nose area. Manta's masks fix all of these problems and come in a variety of styles depending on your needs. So onto the giveaway. To enter, just buy any item from their website using the discount code GEORGE10, send me a screenshot through email or Instagram, and in 48 hours I'll randomly pick a winner who will receive a free Pro mask. If you win, you can keep the mask for yourself or give it to a friend to share the gift of sleep. You spend about a third of your life asleep, so it's worth dropping a little investment into making sure you get the best sleep you possibly can. So after almost blowing myself up, I really did decide it was time to largely call it quits on doing the renovation work myself. Truthfully, I did feel like I'd been spinning my wheels with it all a little bit anyway and not making much progress, and for the next parts where there is much more technical knowledge needed in terms of finishing the windows, working around electricity, fixing the decoration damage from when I got too excited with the sledgehammer, I actually just didn't have much desire to do any of that myself. Because of that, my next call after Mark the electrician was Sean Paul the joiner. Like a ginger Oliver Twist with his empty porridge bowl, I asked if he'd be happy to come back and finish the job for me, and he agreed, which I'm obviously very grateful for. The next day, Sean Paul came over to see how many of my eyebrows I had left, but also to see how things were looking in the rooms now that I'd stripped them back to the wall. When he had a look at the timber frame that was still standing, he said that it was just very squint and it would honestly just be better to start fresh with new timber. I agreed with that because, as with all of the other work in this renovation, I've tried not to cut corners. Obviously there's a limit to budgets and the like, but where possible, I'll always try and get things done to the highest standard possible because it just lasts longer in the long run. Now I know that I just said that I was done with the renovation work and that on video right now you can see me still doing a little bit. I still like destroying stuff, so Sean Paul told me what to do and I started taking down the timber frame myself to make way for the new one. In the first room I just used the handsaw and the mallet, but I'm just a bit shit with the handsaw, so once I'd had my dinner, I went out to the shops and picked up a wood blade for the reciprocating saw and a crowbar, just because I've always wanted one. So even though this goes without saying, I'll say it anyway. Going forward, Sean Paul and his guys will be back doing the work in the next videos. I did enjoy giving it a little bit of a go myself, but it was pretty short-lived. My desire to do it myself and my desire to do it right and to a high standard are sort of incompatible goals, and all it took was that eureka moment of me almost blowing my head off to realise that. I do know I'm talking quite negatively about it all, but the whole thing was genuinely a valuable experience. I've said this before in some of my previous renovation videos where I was doing nothing aside from filming, that I was maybe starting to feel a bit lazy or a bit of a fraud for not doing anything myself. But this past few weeks have well and truly got that notion out of my brain, and now I'm perfectly happy to leave the work to the professionals. On top of that, I've gained valuable electrician experience. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate you leaving a like and subscribing for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.